This week on the Geek EZ, Adam pulls out his hair, Alistair harvests some salt, and Tank, me, reenacts that scene from the intro of Command & Conquer Red Alert. Get me to sequence calculations, now!
The following podcast is intended for mature audiences. The opinions expressed do not reflect this station or any affiliated partners. Listener discretion is advised.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Geek EZ.
Well, hey, that's not supposed to be there. Why is that there?
The following podcast is intended for mature
That's
audiences.
supposed to be there.
The opinions expressed do not reflect this station
wasn't paying
or
attention.
any affiliated partners. Listener
And
discretion
we just totally
is advised.
fluxed
Ladies
that
and
up.
gentlemen, welcome to the Geek EZ.
It's been 5 weeks. 5 weeks.
Just talking? Well, what's the show about? It's about nothing.
Oh, feels good to be back.
And besides, it cut off the beginning part anyway, so...
I did?
Yeah, Twitch didn't. Only got the part where I scream now.
Really? YouTube had it all.
Oh, well, at least something got all of it.
Yeah, YouTube had all of it.
But then we always screwed up anyway, so... Truth in advertising, Adam pulled out his hair.
That happens.
I'm not gonna
Oh,
lie,
well,
what
super-
Wolfie
let's
just
see,
linked
what
has
we
me
got?
very disappointed.
What's got you disappointed?
What Wolfie linked?
Really?
That Crocodile Dundee movie isn't actually happening. It's just a stupid ad.
For what?
Tourism.
Australian tourism in Canada.
Oh, come on. Well, you know what? That is some epic trolling. Because I actually was like, I'd go see that.
You'd see
Yeah.
another Mick Dundee film.
Let's see. Yeah.
It was going to star Danny McBride as Crocodile Dundee's lost
That's
American
a
son.
terrifying thought.
So yeah, I would have gone
And
to
Chris
see it.
Hemsworth as well.
Paul Hogan was apparently on board at least for the ads too.
I'm pretty sure he looks like a saddlebag with eyes at this point. I'm not like age shaming or anything, but you know what's really sad? I keep forgetting in my head that it is almost 2020. I mean, we're 2 years away, and there was something on TV, and they're like, and such is 10 years old. I was like, what do you mean? Oh my god! It was made in 2008. The Star Trek, like JJ's Star Trek movie, will be 10 years old next year.
Really?
Yes. It's like, yes, 2009.
You know, to be fair, every time it was like, somebody says, oh, back in 99 or something, I was like, you mean just last year? It's like, no, that was over 10 years ago. Oh. I still feel like, the 90s was not that far away, till I wake up in the morning, like, oh, yeah, it's a lot further away than I thought.
So, now that we're back, and we missed quite a bit of geeky stuff along the way,
Well,
in
there's
our
probably
absence, in our hiatus. It's a fun word to
hiatus.
say. Hiatus.
I hate us.
Well, there's also been a lot of drama, and screw the drama.
Yeah, screw the drama. We don't do drama.
Well,
But
loves drama.
I'm sorry, but Adam,
yes,
Thomas replied to your tweet that you posted before the show.
Oh, please tell me it was what we were hoping it was going to be.
I'm gonna let Adam look at it.
Yeah, you're gonna be disappointed, Adam.
oh man,
Okay, we
Well-
need context.
he said, let's see, laugh out loud. She got pretty beat up in the Iconian War and went to the yard for a refit. I'm gonna have to reply to him, but I won't do it while we're on the air. At least not while I'm talking. But speaking of spaceships, one of the biggest ones since I don't think we actually touched on it because I think it came out, the pictures and stuff came out just before we went on break. And Wolfie mentioned it right before the show, and he was kind of upset about it. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to jump into Star Wars stuff right here, and I'm going to open a picture. There's the picture right there. It's the Millennium Falcon. The YT, what is it? YT 16 or 1300?
1300.
1300.
1300. I know there is a 1600. I just don't know what it looks like.
That was never a part of that ship.
What, the front end of it?
The stuff in the middle of the prongs, that was never the part of the ship. We saw it very clearly in
Again,
Revenge of the Sith.
what I read, I don't remember exactly where I read it. It was on one of the geeky news sites out there and stuff like that. That it is a detachable cargo hold. It adds additional cargo space to the front of the ship that is accessed through the port between the two nose nubs on the front of the Falcon.
They're called mandibles, dude.
Whatever, the mandibles. Whatever.
As massive spaceship Star Wars enthusiast guy here, I'm perfectly fine with that because modular ability was kind of CEE's shtick when it came to the YT series. So
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I'm not arguing.
I don't mind
point.
it. I do hope that somewhere in the film,
I will tell you
It
that
gets
it's
blown off.
stolen from a fan concept.
It looks more like a fan. Literally, a hand fan. You know, you hold it by the prongs, it's now a fan. See, now you guys are thinking it.
I'm
we got a
trying to find
Firefly
the
that's
picture
viewing
that it's.
Twitch.
There's
'Cause
that.
I've-
Look at that one.
Yeah, that's actually what I was thinking about. Yeah.
That's somebody's. That's a
Modification.
Yeah, but it's supposedly a custom ship for Anakin.
Well, it's a modification of the Falcon model from the X-Wing tabletop game. It's a really good one, actually.
you got a link?
He's dropping them.
It's the one that says X-Wing miniature solar flares in the TeamSpeak chat.
See? Extra cargo hold. Fits between the mandibles.
Mandibubbles.
Mandibubbles.
See, whoever's doing... People who do the modifications to those X-Wing minis, especially to the level of the second one that you posted, holy crap, those guys are good.
I'm looking at this second one, and all I can think of is Sloth from the Goonies, and I don't know why.
Yeah, you guys! It's because of the jaw thing, you know?
I don't know. It just looks wrong. It's like the one eye's hanging too low. Oh. I don't get it.
Yeah, that's definitely
Either
good modeling.
Oh yeah, it's really.
Let's see. Oh, and Firefly's
I like that one
commenting.
better.
Now, Crossing the Horizon. Ran across an interesting DSC opinion piece earlier. Okay, okay,
regards-
Discovery. Had to think
yeah.
about that.
Yes, we will definitely be jumping into the Discovery aspect of things. Have you seen it all, Tank? Have you caught up?
I haven't
Nope.
seen any of it since November.
Oh, dude.
It's okay. You guys can spoil it. I'm going to binge eventually.
Gonna binge.
To be fair, with Discovery nowadays, shouldn't be unusual.
It's not unusual.
To be loved by anyone.
Yeah, speaking of Star Trek news, apparently there's been some new stuff that was released, to which our own Roland, Alistair, and Goodwin,
Canadian.
the local Canadian, yes, were shown in their best, dancing the day away on Ryza. Though you guys should probably explain that a little better.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's the 8th anniversary of Star Trek Online. Came out, well, in what, a week and a half? It'll be 8 years exactly?
Give or take.
Because February 5th is the actual anniversary. And one of the things you can pick up is new emote boxes.
Yeah.
And one of them is, of course, the unusual dance, which is the Carlton dance from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And, well, we were on Ryza. You can wear banana hammocks on Ryza. One of us was a Gorn. Hilarity ensued.
Give me a second. I'll see if I can get it to work on this thing. No, because Dropbox is not letting me. Not.
Should be able to download it.
The Dropbox is angry with you.
There we go.
I don't know why you use the Dropbox is in the YouTube.
Yeah, but I actually have the file, so I can actually download it. If I show them the
bit
YouTube
of a
video, I
difference
can't
there.
actually. A lot of dead air. Okay, now what we talk about while we're waiting for this to download.
Actually, the funny thing is that after I had gotten the that particular emote, I was trying it out on a few characters, and I had commented to Alistair if he had done the dance in a form-fitting outfit. To which Mr. Alistair, up there, had no idea what I was referring to, came back to ESD, saw me doing the dance in the Mako uniform.
Well, I have it queued up. Well, not queued up, but I can bring it up real quick. So,
yeah,
I would probably not play the audio.
do you think?
We might get hit because of it. So,
for the 30-some-odd second music clip.
True.
Trust me, they will content ID you for 5 seconds if they can.
He's not wrong.
Especially with that.
Yet yours video's fine. Still going, still has sound.
True.
But there's a difference between content IDing and actually taking the audio down. It's just that if we put it up and our video goes up on YouTube and they content ID it, there's zero possibility of us getting any money out of it. Not that there's any chance now with YouTube.
Yes, well, we'll see what happens. But okay, so I have it without audio, and this is what it still hurts my feelings watching this, and I don't know why. It really, I mean, the camera work is really impressive. I don't know how you got this to work this way, but
A little trial and error. Trial and error.
Apparently, multiple
the
times.
fact that you can do this in Stowe scares me. I mean, it's just
Within demo record, yes, it's. I'll have to link you how I what I did in order to get this to work.
You know, you can hear the music in your head.
yep.
Not unusual. I don't know the rest
Yeah, I
of
don't
the
think we'll get
lines.
nailed for you singing it.
Singing is a yeah. That's a bit of a stretch.
How
And then
many
there's
tries
Badger.
did it take y'all to sync up?
It auto-synced when he activated demo record.
It auto-synced
Oh my god.
when I did demo record, but getting it to actually stay synced.
It auto synced
During-
all three of you?
Yes.
Well, that's good to know.
It's good to know, but like I said, it's a lot of trial and error trying to actually keep it synced. And,
Yeah, but what's the best thing about this, though?
the best thing about this is that this was just honestly entirely spur of the moment. Because Alistair over there suggested that we go to Risa. He
So
brought
we
out...
have access to banana hammocks.
Yeah. And then it was just general shenanigans from that point, and Goodwin, our resident Canadian, decided to join in. And that's actually a little tidbit of information. That's actually the second demo record that I made on Risa. Because the first one was just the three of us doing the Carlton dance. And then the poor, unfortunate soul who's sitting in the chair, aka the Vulcan, that is another one of our acquaintances.
He's a badger. He likes mushrooms and snakes.
Obviously, he likes watching.
No, the best part is we were doing that, and someone literally ran by, and then I watched them run by, and the next thing I know is I see a head poking through a window.
Yeah,
What
I was
are
actually
they doing?
I was actually talking to that person earlier on Discord, and I was saying, if you had just been there earlier, you would have been in that video. But yeah, he actually was going to join in on the dance, but by the time I'd gotten the footage that I needed, it was pretty much too late by that point. And like I said, a lot of trial and error trying to get that thing set up properly.
But the best part really is the fact that it was used.
Oh, yes. Basically, I posted it up to Reddit, and I will actually link that Reddit in the Twitch chat as soon as I bring it up again.
It does work very well with the music.
I know.
I think it works better with the music than without it. But again, Alistair was right. We don't want to get nailed for any kind of copyrights.
We don't want to get nailed.
We've been nailed twice, and we got foxed, and then we got nailed for something else. And I don't remember what it was.
Probably
Yeah,
some
you
guys.
probably would have gotten...
It was looping the Star Wars trailer.
That's
wasn't
right.
it?
It was. We got nailed for the Star Wars trailer because we played it more than once.
Yeah, you would have gotten Universal or Warnered. One of the two.
No, the YouTube thing. It didn't actually have a specific. It didn't say Lucasfilm or anything. We just got nailed for copyright.
But you have to pay attention to those because there are companies on it, and I've had to deal with them. Companies that do arbitrary claims. And you usually can tell if it's like if they're what they're claiming something is like YouTube sound and then a bunch of numbers and letters.
Yeah.
Like an example of this was there's a group called Argo Fox, and they have Creative Commons music, so you can use any of their music so long as you put a Argo Fox disclaimer in the description of your video. I use
Which
Argo
we
Fox
do
music.
as well for our end credits. I am using music like that for our end credits.
I used to use Argo Fox a lot when I did a lot more gaming videos, and some group tried to claim that an entire song that is through Argo Fox as theirs, and I had to one, dispute the claim, and two, contact ArgoFox, because there was a third party attempting to basically monetize something that they put out there for Creative Commons use.
You bastards.
And I don't know if Firefly is talking about the copyright strikes or the fact on the video itself.
He's talking about the strikes.
Ah.
But anyways, so you posted it on the Reddit.
Yeah, I posted it on the Reddit. And this is a case of, hey, I just want to give praise to whichever genius thought it was a good idea to put the Carlton dance in. Good God, did it explode.
And they used it on the Stowe live chat? Live stream?
They actually opened up with it, albeit they had a desync issue on their end.
Yeah, their last live stream was them playing Star Trek Adventures, so they had the audio intentionally desynced because they were using multiple webcams. As a result, the video was looking weird, yeah.
And bless you, whoever sneezing in the background.
That would be my grandfather.
Go ahead. The neighbors heard that one.
So yeah, basically I post it apparently explodes, and I didn't find out until 3 hours after from Alistair that Borticus, who is one of the developers for Stowe, tweets the video to everyone. And then earlier this morning, I get a private message from the current community manager, Ambassador Kale, asking if he could have the video to show on the dev stream. And at last count, I think the video had like over 1,400 views, I think it was.
When I last saw, and it's been a little while now, it was like 1,200 views on YouTube. So it's probably higher by now.
It's probably higher by now, yeah.
No, see, that would have been a perfect opportunity to have the Geek EZ logo in front. We missed out.
Like I said, I did not expect this to blow up.
Well, from now on, Geek EZ logo everywhere, all over.
Fine, you're gonna have to give me the logo.
That's probably already in the Dropbox, I think. If not, this can be fixed.
Wolfie, I must thank you for posting that link. We will talk about that.
I just found that too.
That is actually something. Wolfie just posted a link to Digital Spy, and they have a write-up on the Netflix Lost in Space series, and I guess the cast has been revealed, and Parker Posey plays evil pretty good, so. I don't know how the dynamic worked though with a female doctor. I know the original kind of got creepy with a male Dr. Smith, but
Oh yeah, that was always really creepy with the way he was so interested in Bill Mummy's character.
yeah, and I mean he and Will Robinson. I mean, I realized that I don't think they intended it to come off as creepy as it did, but
It was just the way Harris played the character.
yes, but with a female Dr. Smith. Now it's funny. I mean, I know I was laughing about earlier in a chat with these guys on Facebook about people complaining about a female James Bond. Now, I don't know. I mean, gender swapping at times kind of makes me go, huh? Especially characters like James Bond. I don't know if Dr. Smith is one of those characters that couldn't be male or female, but
It's a very generic name.
He's
It is.
a
And-
spider monster.
that's true. That movie was such a. Ugh.
You could actually swap like some characters. Granted, we've done that. I don't see any reason why you couldn't swap like Wonder Woman to be Wonder Man instead of
Well,
Amazon.
Well, because
Is
Marvel
it?
would sue you.
Isn't
I
there a
thought-
Wonder Man?
yeah,
there is a Wonder Man in Marvel, but I'm just saying is like, if you were in that universe, I don't see why you couldn't.
I mean, they've
I
done it
think-
in the comics, though.
Yeah, see, that's the thing when we're talking about, there are multiverses where roles are reversed, just like that we do with ours, so.
I think part of the reason that the idea of gender swapping James Bond is so popular with some people is the whole theory that James Bond is a secondary code name
It's a mantle.
and that each Bond is a separate agent.
And it's not unheard of. It's not an unheard of thing, but I think it's because of the history the character has. I don't know. I honestly don't know when it's that kind of thing. It's like, would I watch a female James Bond movie? Sure, if it was good. But I mean, I don't know what changing that role to a female would do. I mean, what would be the point?
Well, I know Halle Berry's Jinx was supposed to get spun off into her own series, but then that movie didn't do all that well.
Yeah, that would be. That mean, if they can do it and do it in a way that was, I don't know, if there was an
Good.
explanation for it that it made sense. Whereas, see, changing Dr. Smith isn't that big a deal because the character, it's a fresh start and a reboot kind of thing. Unless they were rebooting James Bond, where it was a female character, changing the. I mean, Doctor Who being female doesn't make a big look. It doesn't matter because it's a regeneration and. This time it was just regenerating into a woman. It's different. I think in James Bond's case, it's different because there's no rational explanation as to why there would be a female James Bond, knowing the history of the character. And that whole fan theory and the theory behind the mantle of James Bond has been poo-pooed for ages by the people who create the movies. And yes, I said poo-pooed.
No,
Not the first time you've done it.
I understand
I know.
people that create the movies have poo-pooed on the theory. I'm just saying it's a fairly popular fan
It is.
theory.
It really is.
Which would explain some of the groundswell for a female James Bond. I think the other thing is the whole idea of women's liberation. People want to see a woman behave the way James Bond does without getting tagged. Like, honestly, James Bond is a man slut.
Yes,
But he doesn't get called that.
not anymore. They've altered the character to a point. I mean, when Connery and Moore were doing the role, yes. And, I mean, they kind of pulled it back a little bit with Dalton and Brosnan, but Daniel Craig's character is nothing like the way he was portrayed in the other films. James actually is pretty monogamous and to a point in those films compared to the bed hopping he did throughout the 60s and 70s and 80s.
Hang on. Firefly just pointed something out. It's like they have had that. What, for James Bond? This Agent Amasova, aka Agent Triple X.
Oh, the Russian agent. But there's the whole thing. Her whole motivation is because Bond kills her boyfriend or fiance or something. So she's not. It's not on the same level as James in terms of some of the sexuality and everything. There's been female secret agents in movies. I don't think that's the complaint.
Yeah, I mean, we've had female agent films recently. I mean, we had Atomic Blonde, which was a really well-made movie.
There's a lot of James Bond in her in a way.
Yes, there really is. And that's the argument. I mean, now, when it comes to, like, Dr. Smith, I know we jumped off from Lost in Space into James Bond, but whereas Dr. Smith's character in a reboot, as long as it pulled off and it was a female character in this reboot, it's not taking an established character in just a continuation series where all of a sudden the character just changed. It's a different aspect of it. Whereas, like, James Bond's movies sort of tie together to a point, but they don't. And a lot of arguments people have made about the gender swapping of characters is, well, why not, instead of just constantly rehashing the same stuff and then just throwing a woman in the role or a man in the role, which we haven't seen too many men take over women's roles, but there was like, well, new. Why is nobody creating anything new? Why does it always have
Because
to
they
be
don't
take
want to.
something and change it instead of making new stuff?
Again, because they don't want to do that, it's risky. Whereas you go with James Bond, people know it, they're familiar with it, so they stick with it.
Can I derail us for a minute?
Uh-oh.
Go ahead.
Nope.
We have entered the strangest timeline.
Why did they turn on the CERN reactor again or whatever it was?
Burger King has released an ad promoting net neutrality. Burger King.
I guess they want to
put
get
up
beaten down by
an
Wendy's a lot
advertisement
more.
call where they talk that they're basically they've released an advertisement where they were talking about implementing a policy called Whopper neutrality, in which customers have to pay more to receive their burger faster.
That's one way to get the point across, I think. Because that's essentially what the point is.
The best part is this wasn't a preordained advertisement. They had no actors. They literally picked a Burger King, changed all the signs, and had people describing this to actual customers trying to come in and get actual food. So
Wow.
you get actual reactions from people about this being the stupidest thing they've ever heard of.
So you pay an extra $1, you get your burger faster.
Actually, what it is the base level is and it's Mbps, which is making burgers per second. And the cheapest one is $4.99, and then $12.99, and then $25.99.
Wow.
$25.99.
Also, the best part is in the ad there's a sign next to the counter that says Wi-Fi daily use for $6.33.
No more free Wi-Fi.
Yeah, apparently Burger King really passionate about net neutrality. Of course,
what did they get out of it?
I don't know. I really honestly don't know. What amuses me though is the little advertisement they have for if they change the O in Whopper to the net neutrality icon, which is the buffering circle.
Pretty sweet.
So we have entered the strangest timeline in which a fast food company is throwing shade at the FCC.
And we know how certain people love their fast food.
Yes. And I will say, of the fast food restaurants, Burger King is one of my is up there next to Wendy's.
Just try Culver's.
I don't
That's
mind
also
Hardee's
Culver's.
either. Or Carl's Jr. They're the same. It's like McDonald's is always the lowest on the list.
Nah, I think White Castle's lowest.
Oh no, dude! I can eat some White Castle.
There's nothing there. You're eating
Guys,
grease.
I just finished eating. Stop making me hungry.
Totally derail this. Well,
That was my job.
Well, since we were talking Star Trek, we can go into Discovery.
could go into Discovery because there's really not much Star Wars news. I mean, there is the news that let's see, we got the real quick stuff, comic book wise. The Watchmen have officially entered the DC universe. Marvel's books, I'm kind of getting confused because the last I read was last one I read was Thor, and Jane Foster gave up the hammer.
No,
was told-
it's not given up. No one else took it up yet. But the point was that the teller's like, if you transform one more time, never come back because you will die.
You will die. The cancer will kill you. And so that was, I mean, there was that, and then all these books, and it's just trying to keep track of what's going on in Marvel. I mean, it's kind of difficult in DC right now too because they kind of branched off. There's like 8 billion Batman books and Superman books don't tie in with each other, even though they're supposed to. And it's like, what is going on here? So
Well, they don't. They tie in with the original numbering. Remember that.
true, yes, they do. They tie in with the original numbering. And I think the biggest news coming out of DC is that Superman got his undies back. As of Action Comics 1000, Jim Lee has gone back yet one more time to redesign Superman.
And you're breaking up.
Costume. Am I really? You were breaking up on me as well.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, no, you is all you.
Oh, okay. Well, like I said, Jim Lee. Can you hear me now? Is everything all good?
Yes.
Okay. Jim Lee went back, and I was following Jim
Seems
Lee's.
short for Superman.
It's the angle they actually he's got him sitting at the camera angles.
You're below him, so he should look taller. So the fact that he doesn't look as tall and as wide suggests he's shorter and wider.
I should
than
point
he
out
used to
that
be.
of the bunch of us here, let me rephrase that. Of the two of you who are talking about, who's the artist?
No, but he's right. His legs are a little short. If you look at it,
I took a
proportion-wise-
cinema basics class in college, and that's one of the ways they make people look taller is you shoot them from looking up. From
Yeah, shoot a low angle on him, and
so
you bring
he
him up
should
taller.
look taller, and he doesn't. He looks squat.
Well, I took a meteorologist class. That doesn't make me a meteorologist.
Well, no, he's right though.
I'm
The
just messing with
legs
him now.
are drawn almost looking directly at him. The camera would be sitting just below knee level, so he technically should have slightly longer legs at this angle. But that being said, Jim Lee has gone. I mean, the idea that Superman's costume has changed so many times in the past, 5-6 years, or no, it's been longer than that. It's going on a decade now, I think.
No, it hasn't been quite that long. New 52 has not been that long.
New 52 was what, 2004, 5?
No.
7?
No.
Had to have been somewhere.
You're adding way too many years, man.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, either way.
I've been in this apartment since when New 50 came out.
Okay, so 5 years.
Maybe 5. Somewhere.
5, okay. No, it's got to be before my kids were born, and they're 6 years old, so. It's probably a year before they were born, year and a half.
2011 was New 52.
Okay, 2011. 6 years.
7 years.
7 years. Either way, the design that Jim Lee, he made Superman slightly younger. He made him having armor instead of the spandex. Well, he's gone back, leaving some of those aspects, which don't make sense to me when you look at this.
They're merged, remember?
Yeah, but he's got metal cuffs on a cloth costume.
They're not really metal. It looks more like an embroider look.
No, Jim Lee said they were metal.
I know that's what he said. I'm just saying that's what it looks
I
like.
know. And then he's got the boots from the New 52, and they're red, but they're red instead of blue this time. And he's got his undies back. That seems to be a big deal.
The boots have had a similar style to that in various things
that
for
raised,
a long time.
the raised ridge and stuff is very New 52.
DC animated Superman has that pattern at the top of his boots.
Is it raised?
Well,
The way Lee draws it?
Maybe slightly. It's hard to tell. I mean, you got to remember that I'm
It's
looking
animation.
at a still image, so
True. I think it's funny that after all was said and done, he goes back to what he looked like before.
Well, that's the iconic look of Superman.
It is.
So,
And I mean, there's different theories onto why the trunks were introduced into the superheroes back then. The theory that it was to keep the issue of the penis from being seen and giving a way out of around. Like, well, it's still skin tight clothing, so no matter what it is, it would still be seen. But the theory between most artists, and I'm pretty sure this is what it was to delineate the legs. Because if everything was blue and you saw that in Jim Lee stuff, that it kind of just all blends together.
I'm more
And-
interested in that the cape shape seems bizarre.
It's blowing in the wind.
No, but it's more than that. If you look at where the edges on are and everything, it's like it's a triangle almost.
True.
Or it's very rounded instead of like the traditional cape that drapes flat along the back.
I like going back to the iconic myself.
True. Batman will probably be next. They'll probably bring Batman's trunks back too.
In the case of Batman, it's darks and grays, so it doesn't matter. So
True.
He's gotten so many different redesigns. That one I don't think people are going to worry about as much. In the case of Superman, Superman. There's no question about it that's the look.
I will say with this pose and I mean that you can almost hear John Williams' music. It's like dun, dun, dun.
I'm on Google image search and I'm just looking at pictures of Superman, and maybe it's just the way this one particular image is, but he looks wide and squat.
No, you want to see wide Superman? Go look up 1955 Superman. They drew him. He was so trunk. His torso was so thick. It was actually disturbing. It wasn't until like Neil Adams came in the 70s and a few of the other artists in the 70s where he got the more classic bodybuilder look.
Well, yeah, anyway, comics-wise, not a whole lot going on. Not really.
No, there's really nothing's jumping. The whole the Doomsday Clock.
Meh.
I do like the way they put Batman and Rorschach together, where Rorschach ate Batman's breakfast. But I mean, I haven't seen anything jump out at me. I mean, I've only read the first 2 issues. I don't think the third one's come out yet. And but I mean, again, yeah, there's nothing major going on in comic book news. And unfortunately, I would love to say that I'm up on my comic book television watching, but I have not watched a thing on the CW this season. I completely missed Black Lightning's premiere.
I mean, the closest we've had really is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
That's the only thing I've been following. And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. this season has done the best soft reboot I think I have ever seen a television show do, where they took it and separated themselves from the MCU in such a way to reboot it where they can stand on their own, and it's just a fantastic story so far.
Yeah, it's been really good. I'm looking forward to this Friday's episode.
Yes. But this is, I know other people said it, I'm going to say this. To the writers of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., would you please leave Fitz and Simmons alone?
Yes. At this point, just stop it.
I mean, you're beating that horse to, I mean, it's just not fair.
That's just, like, sadistic.
Yeah, I mean, go beat on Yo-Yo and Mac for a while. Just leave Simmons and Fitz alone.
I just am surprised at the high body count this season.
How many times have they tried to off either Fitz or Simmons by this point?
Since season 2? Did they try to kill him in the first season?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
But isn't that when she threw herself out of the plane?
She threw herself out of the plane. Ward threw them out of the plane.
Yeah. Ended up at the bottom of the ocean. She gets sent to another planet.
Apparently Frank Castle is Thanos' cosmic Ghost Rider.
What?
Out of left field?
Oh, are you talking Spirits of Vengeance? I haven't read any of that. I have no interest whatsoever.
Maybe it's the DC nerd in me and the DC snobbiness, but Thanos will always be, in my eyes, a Darkseid ripoff. And I'm sorry, but Darkseid would wipe the floor with Thanos.
Unless they're both in the Marvel Universe and he has access to the Infinity Gauntlet with all the stones.
There was a crossover comic in, I want to say,
there's been
the
several
90s.
of them, and,
there have been several.
And Darkseid actually had the Infinity Gauntlet at one point.
But Darkseid has abilities of his own that don't rival the Infinity Gauntlet, but I mean, his Omega Beams and his ability to manipulate them and do things, it would be an interesting fight. It'd be a much better fight than, say, the Hulk versus Superman.
Which they did that too.
Yes.
But to Discovery.
We'll jump in Discovery.
And Firefly, just all he put in there was a question mark and exclamation mark. I think it was probably in regards to the Punisher being Ghost Rider. And why does Thanos need a cosmic Ghost Rider? That's stupid. Anyway, moving on. Discovery.
Yes, Discovery. Do we start with the good or the bad?
You guys start wherever you want to start. I'm gonna take a power nap.
Well, let's start with why they decided to make that basically just slightly past a half-hour episode.
Yeah, it was only 39 minutes.
Yeah, it
This
was
last episode.
extremely short.
And, well, that was one bad. I think the biggest bad in my eyes is the amount of telegraphing, both off-screen and on-screen, that has made these giant reveals anticlimactic. There was too much talking going on, and that After Trek show it's more detrimental than it is helpful, because they spoil stuff on that for upcoming episodes. That's the bad. The good? Where's the good? Where's the good? Come on.
Well, I mean, that aside, it was still a really good episode.
Oh yeah.
I love the thematic presentation of the Mirror Terrans having a sensitivity to light. Someone actually pointed out it's a great thing when you think about it, because thematically it means the easiest thing to thwart this great evil in the universe is simply the light of day.
Well, it also doesn't match with the previous appearances of the Terran Empire in TOS and Enterprise. The lighting is the same as the regular universe in those episodes.
Yeah, but we never really see them exposed to sunlight. And we know Lorca and Lorca, despite the fact that he kept his, quarters and ready room dark, was fine walking around Discovery in its normal lighting.
Because of the treatments he was giving himself.
Yeah, but look at how brightly lit the Enterprise is in TOS. And it's just as brightly lit in the Mirror Universe.
Yeah, well, I imagine they're going on an away mission. They probably used a treatment.
I don't know. It's one of those little... I do like the aspect that the light of day would actually be detrimental. Do I like the fact that it changes the history of Star Trek? You know what? At this point, I don't really think, in my mind, contradicting it, stuff that came before it is a big deal, because they've all done it. Every
Star Trek that has come out since the original series has contradicted the original series.
The original series contradicted it.
Yeah, I mean, the change of Klingons from TOS to TNG, the change of Romulans from TOS to TNG, the different, one of my favorite representations of this, whenever someone says that the writing team at Discovery doesn't know anything about the original series or actual Star Trek canon, is there is an episode in TNG where the Enterprise encounters what they describe as a hole in space. Riker asks Wesley if Picard or Riker asks Wesley if there's any sort of record like this in, Starfleet databanks. And Wesley goes, there's nothing. Q, in the same post that this was about, a very similar scene happening in TOS, in which the Enterprise in TOS encounters a hole in space.
Well, that's because pretty much Starfleet Command get those reports from Kirk. I'm like, oh, geez, there he goes again. Just put it in the ignore bin.
Was the TOS episodes with the immunity syndrome or whatever with the space amoeba?
I don't recall.
Well, because it gets described initially as a hole in space, but then it turns out not to be, right?
I mean, you could write a book with all the inconsistencies that happen throughout the history, the 50-year history of Star Trek. I mean, if you really want to get into it, the Next Generation, Scotty, Jim Kirk must have pulled her right out of mothballs. Only in the film that followed the series by 4 or 5 months, Scotty witnesses Kirk's death.
Well, he'd been stuck in a transporter loop. His brain was probably a little scrambled.
See, and that's headcanon. That's how you rationalize a very large and consistent.
Actually, it's not just headcanon. I believe it's in one of the books.
Which is not canon.
I know that.
Okay.
I didn't say it was canon.
Yeah. But then you go into the...
all canon you.
I'll shoot your cannon out of a cannon.
Voyager and TNG. Borg are first encountered by the crew of the Enterprise because Q shoots the Enterprise through space. Okay? 15 years later, if you're going by ages of characters and stuff involved, all of a sudden, there is a spaceship that should be like right at that same time going out to explore and study the Borg, which contains a young Seven of Nine, who is, what, about 8, 9 years old, 10 years old? So, wait a second. So you just encountered these things, and all of a sudden now you have a ship that can travel all the way to the Gamma Quadrant to study them? You didn't know where they came from.
Well, one, I believe it's in the episodes where they actually cover the Raven. The family hypothesized that the Borg existed before Q happened, which could probably tie into what happened in Int.
But the fact of the matter is that Earth knew the Borg existed.
Yeah, they also cover the fact that they didn't fly to the Gamma Quadrant. They accidentally got pulled through one of the transport conduits.
Okay. But the other fact of the matter is that Earth knew the Borg existed after the incidents in First Contact because some of the Borg crashed into, was it the Antarctic?
Yeah, and the Enterprise crew encountered them. That would have to be put on record.
It was. Archer. They actually cover that in one of the Star Trek video games. I can't remember what it is.
Not canon.
Called. No, not canon. No. But it was honestly pretty well done because it covers from Enterprise all the way to after Nemesis.
The canon inconsistencies really don't bother me just because that's par for the course with Star Trek. It's not
par for the course with everything, really.
Yeah. I mean, most sci-fi contradicts itself. There's a lot. I mean, the biggest in-your-face contradiction all the way around, the fact that it's not even spoken of afterwards, is the fact that Princess Leia kisses her brother passionately, and then a year later, it's never talked about in the Star Wars timeline, a year or two later.
Because why would they? Because it's disgusting.
It is, but I mean, it was just like,
that's one of those let's just pretend this
worse.
Never happened moments.
Yeah, it makes it worse in the Return of the Jedi, in the whole reveal that Leia is his sister, and they're sitting there in the Ewok village, and she goes, "I know. Somehow I've always known. So you knew and did it anyway."
She knew when she kissed him, just like when Marty's mom kisses him in Back to the Future.
Yeah. Then you got the whole tell me about your mother. I don't remember much. But your mother died in childbirth. So there's those kind of inconsistencies in Star Wars. Star Trek has the same one. James R. Kirk, Spock's brother, that's never mentioned ever, and all of a sudden Spock's brother just appeared. And he's never mentioned again after that. Cybok comes and goes, and it's just a one-shot deal kind of thing. You never see Sarek talking about him in the Next Generation, his name never comes up in the whole. He's always thinking about Spock, but Cybok. You would think that you got your one son that you've had a bad relationship, and then you have another son that completely bailed on you and went AWOL and completely rogue from the Vulcan thing. I'm thinking if your brain is shutting down and you can't control your emotions, that would be a name you'd bring up.
Remember, Cybok's Halfler.
Maybe he used his Vulcan teachings
from another person.
Maybe he used his Vulcan teachings to remove Cybok from his head because
Possibly.
Cybok was such a disappointment.
True. Either way. You really want to have fun? Go look at the rank pins on Chief O'Brien throughout Next Generation.
You mean Lieutenant O'Brien?
Yeah. He's all over the place rank-wise. So, I mean, it's not an unheard of thing. So, inconsistencies in canon, I'm not a canonista. I'm not going to jump up and down because, well, that didn't happen, that kind of stuff. I mean, even Discovery's look... Now, I will say, I gave up. I had to go back and rewatch episodes because I stopped watching. They brought Michelle Yeoh back, and I was like, well, I got to watch now because it's Michelle Yeoh. So I had to go back and watch the episodes that I missed. So, there was like, oh, okay, so... I watched it. The aesthetic of the show doesn't bother me. Is it my cup of tea? No. Would I have liked to see something a little more retro? Yes. And I have giant fears for when the Defiant finally shows up on screen, which is probably going to be in the next 2 episodes somewhere. Because it's going to send the canon freaks out of their minds. It already has from that little whatever we saw. Doesn't look like a Connie. What's wrong? What's within the cells? Either way.
I guarantee you that if the Defiant were to have been displayed in its entire glory and it use the model of the Defiant in the remastered TOS episodes, someone would have found a way to complain and everyone would have jumped on that bandwagon.
Now, the one thing that bothered me this past episode, because we haven't even touched on the episode leading up to this one. Well, we can. We'll talk about those first. Things that did bother me. Characters that were just becoming interesting, like the Doctor. They finally showed. They gave this. He gave him a little bit of character growth. Colbert, right? His name's Colbert.
Culber.
Okay, they gave him a little where he stands up to Lorca. He goes toe to toe with Lorca and tells him basically that I'm doing my ba ba da ba da ba da ba, and then no more than 10 minutes later, snap, and it was like, really? I mean, come on. I mean, it was one of those shock moments. It was like, ah, son of a, because nobody else has really had any major growth. Saru has had growth. Michael Burnham is still shock-faced all the time, wide-eyed, like everything is amazing at all times, or something smells bad. Those are her 2 emotional states that they have shown this character go through. Which I think is for the main character of a show to not have any real growth, and it's like, Now, I will say, Stance's predicament makes me wonder what's going on. Michelle Yeoh as the Emperor. We all saw it coming, but it's still pretty cool because it's Michelle Yeoh. So, I'm not a hater.
That means she descended from Empress Hoshi, or did her family take that title?
Well,
no.
It is the mirror universe.
Empress Hoshi is not confirmed in canon. She just says she's going to declare herself Empress. We don't know that she succeeded.
By all accounts, they haven't said that it hasn't succeeded, so it's a good chance it did.
Well, there's a good chance it did, but I'm just saying that Archer intended to declare himself Emperor, and look at what happened to him.
Well, maybe she's smarter than he was.
Now, the Lorca being from the Mirror Universe, I'm pretty sure that from like the 2nd or 3rd episode, when he first showed up on screen, there were tells all the way through that something was off with this guy.
Yeah, but to me, they undid one of the aspects of Lorca that really made him, for me, an enjoyable character. Here was a flawed Starfleet officer, blah, blah, blah. Now, he's just this typical evil person who's not even from Starfleet originally.
He shaved his goatee.
Yeah, he went from being a
complex and compelling character to more one-dimensional.
flawed. What I like to say, a road to hell paved with good intentions character.
Now he's just bad intentions.
To just bad intentions.
Now, the exposition bothers me at certain times, especially when it's out of what you would expect in a scene like that. This latest episode, the Empress brings Burnham to her throne room to do a public execution, and then everybody starts talking.
Well, it wasn't even really that everyone started talking. It's the fact that she brought her to her throne room for a public execution, and there was nobody there.
Yeah. And it was like, why didn't you just slit her throat the way we have seen Terrans portrayed, there would be no hesitation. It would have been, the sword would have got drawn and slice hack, and it would have been over, and the show would have been done. But I think that, what was it? The biggest one that I'm surprised they didn't mention was when Lorca says in that episode, well, it's a good thing we're being brought to the palace. And how would he know that? That was the instant tell right there. That was the giveaway that he is from the Mirror Universe, because we've been summoned to the Empress's ship. Burnham would not know that that's the palace, would she?
No. What gave it away to me was how very quickly he took to the Mirror Universe the moment they arrived. How very nonchalantly he seemed to know things.
Yes. And a little smirk that he gave when the Empress showed up. It was like, there's little things about it. And it was like, all right. I mean, again, this show suffers, and I really hope for the second season that they kind of whittled down the committee aspect of the way this show is produced, because it's suffering both visually and story-wise from too many hands in the pot.
One of the things I didn't like with the Emperor was, so why were these people her Lord's Council if they were all that disposable?
Because it's the Terran. Exactly. They're all that disposable. Everybody's disposable, yet she took the time to drag Burnham to
and
a room.
Why spare the one guy?
She didn't want to clean up her own mess. And also,
that's how I took it.
Also, I imagine she initially wanted to make an example to her Lord's councils, like, this is what I'm going to do to the woman that I considered my daughter. Think about what I am capable and willing to do to you. But of course, she just ended up doing that.
And James Gunn should sue, because that was so Yondu.
Actually, you want to know what I thought instead of Yondu?
Predator?
Wanted.
Yeah, Wanted. That's it.
Yeah.
When Angelina Jolie takes out all the assassins and herself.
Yep. Either way, I mean, again, there's a big thing right now. There's the divide that this show has caused, where anyone, and I've made this comment. It was like, and it's funny, I got no responses aside from one, which was a very thought concise. And in one of the groups I made on Facebook, I asked, I was like, why is it that I don't hate the show, I just like aspects of it, and it's not even that. It didn't hook me from the get-go, because there were no characters that I really cared about within the first couple of episodes, aside from Saru, who I just dig his character, and I love the fact that he has gotten to grow throughout the series. And that's one of my things. It's like, if you don't hook me with the characters and stuff, if everybody is just like, meh, it's kind of like why I don't watch The Walking Dead. There is not a likable person on that show. I think I've seen maybe half an hour of one episode, and then the scene where Glenn gets his head bashed in. But that was, haven't watched it. Breaking Bad. I never watched an episode of Breaking Bad, because from what way people were talking about the show, I was like, I'm not going to like these people. Why would I? No, that kind of stuff. But the thing about the hater. Everybody's like, "Oh, you're a hater," and if you and how dare you? This is Star Trek, and it's the only way it's going to be. And I can't understand people like you, and everybody hates the show because of this, because of that. I'm not a hater. I just don't like it. And to this day, there are still people out there who complain about Enterprise or Voyager or any of them. They complain and yell and scream. And then the JJ verse. I was like, well, why is it okay? Why are you not allowed in Trek fandom right now to dislike Discovery, but it's okay to dislike the JJ verse? It's still Star Trek. It's got the Star Trek name.
Because this is, and it's basically a case of you're being a unfortunate casualty of something you're not guilty of.
I know,
suffering
because
from a
you're
knee-jerk
disliking
reaction.
you're disliking Discovery. You are not being vocal about it. However, there is a large group of, well, no, I won't say a large group. There is a number of a vocal minority.
There's a loud group
that don't simply just hate Discovery. They want you to know how emphatically they hate Discovery, and they will remind you, because they are basically Star Trek's version of vegans at this point.
And
they want you to know.
The sad thing is they all secretly love it anyways.
So wait. We've got Trekkies, Trekkers, and now we have Trekans. I just coined a term right there. They are Trekans. They are hardcore.
The really sad part is that they all secretly love it anyways.
They all watch it. They really do.
Yeah, that's because, you said there's people like, I'm not watching it. But yet you seem to know all the minutiae about all the episodes.
Yes.
Well, not only that, they're clearly watching it as soon as it comes on instead of just sitting down later in the week at some point and watching it. They're watching it as soon as it comes up and then complaining about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I was going to complain about something, it's the Klingons. That's the only complaint I would have, is they not only try to make them this more fearsome, ugly species, but and then turned around and neutered them almost instantly.
Well, I've been thinking about the Klingon thing because the different look did kind of bug me at first, but I got over it. But the more I've been thinking about it, it was kind of necessary because after everything we've been through with the Klingons, with TNG and DS9 and then B'Elanna on Voyager, they weren't this scary race. They were, these lovable but gruff people that everybody secretly wanted to be. Sure. And they needed, if they were going to show the war, they needed to be different and be an enemy again.
And yeah, the last time we saw any Klingon that was a major threat would have been Star Trek 3. Because even in the original series, they were not scary. They were more of a laughable bat, which is it was propaganda, anti-red kind of thing, where it was like, instead of this big scary empire, which was an allegory for the USSR at the time, they were the scary thing that's really not a threat.
I don't know, the one appearance in TNG with the Klingon fugitives, they were
those who held on to the original beliefs.
They weren't necessarily scary, but I thought that they were effective as not being you sympathized with some of it, but at the same time you didn't want to be them. Those Klingons in that episode. And then later it very quick. Well, I mean, Galeron became a freaking parody of himself by the end.
He really did. They all did. It was more of a they went from an allegory for the Soviet Union at the time, and to basically Japanese culture with turtle shells on their head.
What is the deal with Galeron? I mean,
they're more Vikings than Japanese.
But what is the deal with Galeron? Like, they changed his makeup as his appearances went on. They started emphasizing his crazy eyes more and more and more, and then the performance just became so over the top.
Because they liked it.
Yeah, it was the over the topness that was brought out, and yeah, they did emphasize his eyes.
Yeah, but it
and-
started taking me out of the episodes he was in because
Maybe that's just you, honestly.
his performance didn't always seem to fit what was going on around him.
Maybe he was like really high on caffeine. Too much
Because
Rakajino.
He was putting a lot of stuff in his blood wine, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. But again, I mean, the way Discovery did it, they were almost like it was an afterthought. It was like, well, we're going to the Mirror Universe now, so we got to clean up all this Klingon mess. And it was like, I know it's not done. And that whole aspect of Ash versus Vok and all that kind of stuff, they screwed that up from the get-go because before the show even aired, people already knew who that character was. Because they listed him, that actor, as Vok. And then they instantly say, "Oh no, we didn't do
They listed
that."
him as a Klingon because he was originally brought on to play a Klingon, and then they tried to spin it.
Yeah, and it was like, well, you screwed that one up. So everybody already knew that was coming. But then this last episode where it was like the human side took over, I was like, well, I don't know.
So, are we supposed to believe then that her grief there is the origination of the Klingon death scream?
No, because they did a Klingon death scream in the first episode.
Yeah. Even I know that.
I don't understand the
I
idea
must be
of
half
eating
asleep,
sentient
'cause you're
beings.
right.
That's another one that gets the eating of a sentient being. We saw it with the Klingons eating Giorgio, and then this latest episode of the Kelpian helper.
Saruganov.
Yes, Suruganov. So it's like, I mean, I realize you're trying to make them look vicious and evil, but that's taking it a step far, don't you think?
I honestly don't think so in the broad spectrum of the whole. If you, it's not like a human eating a human, but in the broad spectrum of the whole universe, you gotta keep in mind the Kelpins are prey. They emphasize that the entire series.
Yeah, I kind of assumed we were going to see a Kelpian get eaten at some point, but I figured it was going to be by whatever the predator species was. Maybe Kelpians aren't native to the Prime Universe. Maybe they were bred by MU Terrans.
Well, here you go. The good. No, because they're Kelpians. Saru talks about Kelpians.
But they're rare, and maybe...
but Saru wasn't just on Discovery, he was also on the Shinzal. His species is known.
No, yes. I know that. What I'm saying is... Okay, my personal belief is that Stamets and the Spore Drive are going to play a role in fixing everything through some sort of bizarre time travel shenanigans where much of this first season possibly gets undone.
Which would make the entire season a worthless venture.
But maybe they rescue a bunch of Kelpians and end up in the past
unless this entire
the
first season
universe
is specifically built around character development and that it then further gets foundationed upon in season 2.
Or they do the exact opposite and shoot them forward in time when they get back. I don't know. Where do they go from this? I would like to know. Where are you planning on taking this? Because at this point, everything that was telegraphed has been done. And right now it's a blank slate, and I'm still going, okay,
yeah, I don't even
see
how they get out of the MU at this point.
Now, for the real good, the Andorians and the Tellarites.
Yeah, well, some people were up in arms over, but yeah,
the update on those makeups was on. I mean, it was like right there. They were on spot. Like, boom, you got it. It was like you took the Klingons and went way off base, and then you come back to the other classic characters, and you got the Andorians and the Tellarites. The Tellarite makeup blew my mind. I was like, that is how they should look all the time. But so I was all good with that. I was like, yes, that's all good. But again, where are they going to go from here? Find out on Sunday. And it better not be another short episode.
I don't even know if I'll be watching it when it first pops up Sunday. Part of me wants to watch the Royal Rumble.
Boy, they're going through a major bunch of crap in the WWE, aren't they? Fire the one dude who was supposed
Yeah,
to
let's see. Enzo Amore got released because there's rape allegations. Roman Reigns has been accused in a steroid scandal.
Paige got injured to the point where she can't wrestle anymore.
Yeah.
So they're having serious issues with their cast, and I call them cast.
Oh, and a lot of people are really upset over the 25th anniversary episode of Raw that aired on Monday.
I must have missed something there.
Well, they went out of their way to advertise that they were broadcasting from the Barclays Center and from the place where the first Raw aired, the Manhattan Center. And there was almost nothing from the Manhattan Center. What did air from there was kind of meh. And like the fans apparently were chanting refund and stuff like during the show.
Wow.
Oh, and they buried one of their best young tag teams. They had some legend. They got squashed in a match, and then a bunch of WWE legends beat them up. And this is a tag team that they've portrayed as extremely hard hitting and tough, and they made them look super weak.
Now, I want to go back and clear. I said cast, and because it is a cast, these guys are a cast. There are storylines written, and it's obvious that it's a written storyline. But that does not negate the fact that these guys and women, the men and women that wrestle professionally, they are athletes.
Oh, yeah, the physical pounding they take is insane.
The physical, and knowing this, because my little brother is a professional wrestler. The pounding that their bodies take and the physicality that they have to constantly portray, and the dangers involved
and the sheer
in
number of nights a year that they work, because it's not like they're only working when they're on TV.
True. So I mean, they are true athletes, and I mean they take a pounding. It's just the fact that they are in a situation, or they are just it's entertainment. It's not like watching the Olympics,
which are starting soon.
Yes, they are. Well, there's not wrestling in the Winter Olympics. There should be. I think it'd be hilarious to watch somebody wrestling and rolling down a hill, but I don't know if I mean, yeah, the Olympic Games, Winter Games, they just don't excite me because there's no women's beach volleyball. And yes, that is a very sexist thing to say, but
you know what I find myself getting surprisingly caught up in during the Summer Olympics is the fencing events.
Yeah.
Because it's just not something you see.
No, and they really are good. But it's like when they do the boating and stuff, like yes, and row, no, that kind of stuff. Running, like the actual the track and field stuff, I enjoy. The gymnastics, I enjoy. Women's beach volleyball. And like Winter Olympics, I really like bobsledding and luge, just because of the sheer danger involved in those sports, and like speed skating. It's like if you're out ahead and you fall down, you're gonna be ribbons by the time it's over.
Yeah, and they're changing like the starting style on some of the speed skating events.
Yeah, it's like, why do you watch hockey? It's the same reason I watch car racing. I'm waiting for the fights to break out. I'm waiting to see somebody take a blade across the throat. I'm not. It's like, I could care less who puts the puck in. It's the danger involved. It's stuff that I want to see that way. But that's neither here nor there.
There's a few events in the Summer Olympics that I find interesting. And there's a few in the Winter Olympics. I mean, like the figure skating. That's always been, just amazing to watch them do it.
Yes.
The ski slope thing has been kind of interesting. What was another one? Is it the slalom where they're still skiing down, but it's like kind of bouncing off little hill things on the way down?
Yes. Now, I will admit that while the high, like the ski jump and some of the other skiing stuff is like, it's amazing to watch because I mean there's a lot of leg strength involved in these kind of things. Watching them on YouTube when people put like gunfire in for the falls, that's more entertaining to me.
Yeah, or they fall and suddenly they explode. Yeah,
Yes,
that's
those kind of things. It's just like
Mental Gen.
Oh, and we have a special guest, Art, Captain Owens.
I'm back.
But yeah, it's the winter games. I mean, and will I watch them as religiously as I do the summer games? Probably not. I can't believe I just admitted on air that I never watched. I have never seen a single episode of Breaking Bad.
I haven't.
There was, I mean, the idea of watching a show about a drug user or a drug dealer doesn't excite me at all.
Yeah, don't care.
Yeah, it was like, why would I want to watch this? Why would I want to like get caught up in the horrid life of someone dealing meth?
Well, he's dealing meth because he's got cancer, so yeah, okay.
So that makes it an okay thing to do?
No, it doesn't make it okay. It's just like, okay, so he's got it's the whole, good intentions, hell, blah, blah, blah.
It's the same with The Walking Dead for me. It was just like...
Basically, it's the show is about him giving into his dark side, and then the last season is basically him redeeming himself a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
and I haven't
get the show, just watch Star Wars.
That's my thing for everything. I mean, these guys all know. I said it publicly. I am more of a Star Wars person than Star Trek, so yeah. Keep calm and watch Star Wars.
Speaking of Star Wars, we're getting the OG Emperor.
Yes, we are.
In Rebels. Rebels.
Ian McDiarmid is coming back to reprise his role as the Emperor for the last episode of Rebels.
Nice.
No, I don't think it's just for the last episode. I think it's for the last whole half of the season.
Well, either way, it's pretty sweet that they got him back. Yeah, I mean, what's that, February 5th they come back?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a given that we're going to lose Kanan. Even though, I mean, it's like, well, what characters could live and what characters can die? Well, we know Hera survives. We know Hera survives all the way to the battle, or till after the Battle of Endor. So,
we do.
Yes, because I guess right now Lucasfilm has stated that anything that comes out involving Star Wars is to be considered canon and part of the story. And in their Destiny Forces of Destiny line of cartoons and stuff that are airing on YouTube, and they're geared towards girls, the younger girls and stuff, Hera Syndulla is there after the Battle of Endor. Let's see, she is mentioned in a few other aspects all throughout the. So I mean, she was on Hoth before the Battle of Hoth. So I mean, we know she makes it through. What they're going to do with Ezra Bridger, don't know. But Kanan most likely will not. I bet you he has 2 more episodes and then he's gone.
Well, I remember seeing in Rogue One, like one of the 3 ships to actually jump out before the Star Destroyer arrived was the Ghost.
Well, yeah, the Ghost is on screen.
We see Chopper, and they page her in Rogue One.
General
and she shows
Syndulla.
up, and she just show up on Endor in one of the Forces of Destiny.
Yes, and in the comics as well. So I mean, and you know what? I mean, she is one of my favorite characters in Star Wars, hands down. I think she's the one who had the most growth throughout the entire series, aside from Ezra. They've all had, I mean, the storylines have been really good. The characters have all grown, but Hera, there's something about Hera's character that is just, you just want to see her succeed. And it's just like, well, I've heard the whole, well, she could never do anything wrong. She's like the perfect pilot and all that kind of stuff. I was like, yeah and no. She's just really determined.
If she was a perfect pilot, she wouldn't have been shot down at the end of season 4.5.
Ooh, apparently in that thing you're talking about where we see her on Endor, she got Han to admit that the Ghost was the better ship.
Yes. Even though Leia then tells him that Even she doesn't think that. So Hera doesn't think that the Ghost is better. But
Oh, bull! I don't believe that for a minute.
now that
Hera
would be an
believes
interesting
it.
fight. That would
Hera
be an
believes
interesting.
it.
Oh yeah.
Personally, I'm going to be honest. Perfectly honest. I think the Ghost is a better ship.
Part of
Yeah.
the reason that the Ghost is a better ship is Han is a great pilot, but I think Hera's better.
Yeah. And it would be very interesting to see them finally go head to head and say, okay, let's do the Kessel Run together, see what happens.
No, I think
Who skirts the Maw closer?
speed wise the Falcon wins, but I think just as an overall a better ship, it's the Ghost.
Yeah, that's debatable because it depends on what you're comparing by. So I mean, there's a lot of ways that can go. It can go either way. They're roughly equivalent, I'd say, overall.
I really wish that they would end the series right at Road One, but we know they're not going to. So. But I mean, what do we got? Another 6 or 7 episodes left. I don't remember. I read the names and stuff like that. So, and I watched the trailer and all that. But I mean, as a Star Wars fan, it's exciting.
I can only see what's on YouTube.
It's exciting. I mean, I had this discussion with both of my sons. That I was like, you guys have no idea how, because they both like Star Wars. My younger son likes it more than my older son. And I was like, you have no idea how lucky you are that there is all of this Star Wars for you to watch, and all of this part of this giant story that you can jump into, and there's so much for you to do. And they're like, what do you mean? I mean, my older son asked me, and I was like, dude, when I was your age, The Return of the Jedi had just come out the year before, and that was it.
And then we had to wait for the novels to show up.
Yes. I was like, and then we had to wait another. When did Heir to the Empire come out? 88, 89?
Well, you got Caravan of Courage in '84.
Well, there were those. We got the Ewok movies, and we had the Droids cartoon and that kind of stuff. But when it came to Star Wars, it came and it ended, and that was it. I mean,
91.
I mean, we had this long discussion about the toys and everything. I was like, I don't think you realize that 1985, it all just went away. There was no more Star Wars.
Yeah, for all intents and purposes, it was done until the 90s.
Yeah, and he was just like, well, that had to be really... Yeah, I think his exact words go, that had to suck. I was like, it did. I mean, was I always a fan? Yes. When it came out on VHS, did I have them? You bet I did. And I mean, so I could go back and relive that stories. But I was like, you now have 8 movies. What? You have 6 seasons of Clone Wars. You've got the Clone Wars movie. You've got 4 seasons of Rebels. You got Rogue One. You got the Han Solo movie coming out. I was like, you have all of this stuff right there. And there's always going to be another Star Wars next year. We didn't have that at your age.
Yeah, and actually, I didn't even get into the novels until later into the 90s. And then it's like, just... kind of like you fell into an oasis. Like it was amazing and wonderful, and there was plenty of books out there to read.
Yeah, and I tried. I mean, my boy's 11; he'll be 12 in a few months, and I was like, and I gave him Aftermath, and I was like, here, you know what? You got to read for school. Read this. It was a little over his head. He kind of got lost, and I was like, okay.
I love a lot of the old EU novels, but man, some of them are so bad.
The Courtship of Princess Leia. Oh, well, speaking of the EU...
That wasn't terrible. Terrible would be the Crystal Planet one.
With The Last Jedi being just like Discovery, The Last Jedi is just as divisive with Star Wars fans as Discovery is with Star Trek fans. And I laughed. I clicked on 2 articles about plot holes in The Last Jedi. I think it was the top plot holes, biggest plot holes in The Last Jedi. 6 of them weren't plot holes. 6 of them were just things they disliked about the film. They were not plot holes. And they were explained, if you watch the film, they were explained within the film itself, and they were not plot holes. But the biggest one right now that has a lot of people, the biggest issue a lot of people are having are the new Force powers and the fact that Luke Skywalker could project himself across the galaxy, and that's a power that Jedis don't have, blah, blah, blah. Ryan Johnson last week, or earlier this week, I think it was. No, it was last week, end of last week, earlier this week. Tweeted out a couple of photos on Twitter when he was responding to this. And he grabbed an EU book, The Jedi Way, opened to the chapter on doppelgangers, and then took photos of said power from the EU that he has now incorporated back into the canon Star Wars universe that basically says that a Jedi could use the Force to create a doppelganger to fool of himself or someone else that would mimic exactly what he or that person looks like and would be able to fool people.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that and I knew exactly what he was referencing. What was being done. It's like, oh yeah, okay, cool. That was a neat thing for them to bring in. I enjoyed the fact that they brought that in because that's coming from two different things. I mean, obviously they got it from the Jedi Way, but I was thinking from the
Dark Empire.
No, actually not Dark Empire. I was thinking from when Luke fought with Jason or Darth Caedius at that time. He totally had him. Far. Yeah, he totally had Caedius believing he was fighting Luke on a ship, and Luke wasn't there. As a matter of fact, nobody else saw him except for Jason. And not only was he fighting him hardcore, lightsabers clashing, or at least he thinks they were clashing, he was deflecting laser bolts, and he wasn't freaking there.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
it is a power they have. And then the other one is Princess Leia's use of the Force. Or General Leia's
that one
use
did
of the
not
Force.
bug me in the slightest.
I actually teared up.
I liked it.
It made me go, finally. It was like, you know what? Awesome. And so many people are groaning about it. Oh, she looked like Mary Poppins. Oh, that's way too much power for her to have. She's never showed any power of the Force that way. And again, Johnson came back and said, guys, she was floating in outer space. There is nothing holding her back from just reaching out with the Force and pulling herself back to the ship. It's not that big a deal. Well, how did she survive? Yeah, the big thing is, how did she survive? Probably instinctually.
Through the powers of fiction!
Also, you have a few seconds.
Yeah, you have a few seconds, but instinctually, her use of the Force and her body, she would have instinctually reached out and saved herself. She knew what was coming.
It is also based in the EU because in some of the Yuuzhan Vong novels, one of the Solo kids literally creates a bubble of the Force around them to protect themselves from an entire planet's atmosphere being vented away, if I remember right.
Well, okay, even going back to Rebels.
Yoda did it.
Look at all the times that Ezra survived just wearing that stupid stormtrooper helmet.
Or
in space.
Kanan got sucked out in airlock.
Yep.
So did Leia.
Well, Leia got sucked out of a bridge.
And
good point.
And again, I mean, how many? I don't know. I saw. Did you guys catch that she knew it was coming and closed her eyes?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's not like she didn't know it was coming. She knew those missiles were on the way. She knew what was about to happen. She closed her eyes and concentrated. And boom, she got sucked out in outer space. And yes, it was instinct. And the other one, I think the big one people were saying, and I mean that Ryan Johnson came back and was like, I don't understand you guys, why you're having such a big deal with this. Luke Skywalker always acted impulsively. They were like, well, Luke was going to flat out murder Kylo Ren. It's like, he was, and then thought better of it. Just like he was about to murder his father, and then thought better of it. It was that instinct of evil and anger and all that kind of stuff that went through him, and then he stopped. So it's not out of character for Luke to have raised his lightsaber or to ignited his saber, raised it up, and then realized what he was about to do, and then stop. And like he said, he felt shame. So that was another big one that I just don't understand people flipping out about, because it wasn't out of character for Luke.
Because
The other
Luke,
thing. Go ahead.
thank you. If you look at Return of not Return of Return of the Jedi, the third one, number 6.
Yes.
Um,
Or
It's like the
3.
third
you
one,
watch-
number 6.
well, the third original,
Yes.
because that's a discussion for another time. If you watch, as he's coming in, he actually force choked some of the Gamorrean guards.
Yes.
He's like, "Yeah, you're choked. You're done. You're done." I'm like, "Wow, I didn't realize how fucking dark he was. He actually has a dark side streak in him, huh?"
He does.
And
Well,
then my friends pointed out when the sail barge blows up, wow, what about all those people and slaves that he just had Leia blow to hell?
That wasn't the Force.
No, he was still responsible for it.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, my point, and I've made it before, is it's not like Luke was trained to be a real Jedi.
true.
Luke was trained to kill Darth Vader. He's like Harry Potter. He was a weapon.
Let's not get into the whole... You saw the video I posted on the Geek EZ Facebook page, right? Where the comedian compares Harry Potter and Star Wars and says
I
that
saw
J.K.
that.
Rowling just basically stole the idea of Star Wars. And he lays it out in a way that I never thought of before, and I was like, oh my god. But yeah, he does. He was very much like Harry Potter. He was trained to do one specific thing, and then it was up to him to go fill in the blanks later, which he was trying to do. But it's got to be difficult when you don't have anybody there to teach you. You have to go looking for it for yourself.
Come into, put some serious thought into it, and I've come to the conclusion as to why there's so many people so bent out of shape, and I get it. It's because after 30 years approximately, with the novels and the games and all that stuff, and all of this world building that's been done, people have invested an awful lot into it, both time, money, emotion, whatever.
Yep.
And then Disney just comes along and says, nope, your investment's not worth anything anymore. So that
But yes and no.
Hold
it's
on.
still all there.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have explained that they've it's still around. It's from Legends, but we're only going to pick and choose what we like. And again, that's to a lot of folks. I think they are taking that to mean that well, we're taking what we like, but maybe it's not what you like. But that doesn't matter what you like. It's what we like, and so we're going to do whatever we want, and we don't care that you invested all that into it. So too bad, so sad. When you've got several decades worth of character building and the way the character has behaved, we saw Luke actually evolve as a character. He gets over some of that impulsiveness. He learns a lot on how to be a proper Jedi, and so I think there's a lot of that baggage, maybe, if you want to refer to it, although there's a lot of connotations to that to use, that people are bringing into watching the films. So it comes back to
hoping.
the whole feel that they were hoping for something similar to what they've already invested into, and they're not getting it at all.
Yeah, they wanted this epic Jedi, all-powerful. Now, I will say, I bet you a lot of the complaining wouldn't be there if Luke when Luke was standing there facing down the AT-ATs, or the AT-ATs, or the ATM, whatever they are called, and reached out, and they all just fell down. Had that happened, probably a lot of the complaining that was happening wouldn't be there, because it would have been that epic moment of, look how powerful he really is. We would have seen the Luke Skywalker that, according to the witnesses at the Battle of Jakku, pulled a Star Destroyer out of the sky. Even though it never happened.
I was going to say, he wasn't there.
No, he was. He was on Jakku.
Really? Because that's not what's in the books.
I could have sworn he was on Jakku.
No. At no point in time was Luke ever on Jakku. Not according to the 3 books that have come out.
The Legends of Luke Skywalker he is in.
Okay, so that I don't have.
Okay, and It's alluded to that it's. I mean, it's the Legends of Luke, so yeah, it's Luke. But there are aspects that I would have been like, "Oh yeah!" had he done that. He just pulled and just knocked them all down. That would have been an epic moment. And am I glad they didn't do it? No, I'm not actually. I would have loved to have seen that happen. Especially after that whole barrage that they unleashed on him, and he just sat there and brushed his shoulder off, and then just waved his hand, and they all just topple over.
Or he just knocks one over and they fall over like dominoes.
Yeah.
It's been kind of funny.
I was expecting him to pull a Carrie Fisher.
But
Gives him
snort
the
a line of
bird?
coke and then just charge him?
No, it gives him the bird.
Yep, just
Uh.
as the smoke clears, he's just standing there with giving him the bird.
No, I mean, I was able to rationalize why he didn't do that is because, after the reveal that he's not there, it's like, well, he's been out of practice for the past, I don't know, at least 10 years. So he's not as in tune with the Force. He's not as powerful as those, and that's why that actually killed him.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, what he did is still really impressive.
Oh yeah,
But
no,
he could have
no
done
argument
more
there.
just because he didn't have that full, connection that had he stayed using the Force, he actually probably would have been even more powerful and probably could have done exactly that with probably not as much of a problem.
Now, the other aspect people are having issues with, which I don't understand, is because it's already been established in the original trilogy as well as the prequel trilogy. The aspect of disconnecting from the Force and going hermit. And
I mean,
hiding.
that's what all the Jedi did.
They
Yoda,
keep doing it.
Obi-Wan.
Yes.
And happened in the Old Republic.
Yoda and Obi-Wan hid out, but we don't know whether they actually disconnected from the
Yoda would have
Force.
had to have disconnected to the Force because the Emperor would have felt Yoda.
Actually, that's already been explained. He didn't. He
He
hid
specifically
himself.
went to Dagobah because Dagobah is so strong on the dark side that they couldn't have found Yoda.
Okay.
Yeah, they cancel out. So like
That's
So
fair.
he was still okay, but either way, there was the hermit aspect, and I guess in the EU there is a code that the Jedi have to follow. I think it was set up in the Old Republic stuff that if there is a failure of monstrous proportions, that they exile themselves. And
I haven't seen anything to that effect, but we have seen him actually do that. So
Except
so, I
for
mean-
a line in Episode 3. Failed
Yeah.
I have. Into exile I must go.
yes, so that's not unheard of. Obi-Wan really wasn't exiled; he was more there to protect Luke.
and he didn't actually stop using the Force.
No, he didn't. So it was like that's not unheard of. Luke's disconnect from the Force and because after reading all of the Jedi texts, page turners they were not. It was like, okay, you know what? He really in his head. That is character. That is character development and growth. He was like, the Jedi has to end. They do less good, or they do more harm than good. And he laid it all out. And when he told Rey, he's like, they allowed Sidious to happen.
I want to know
Right
how he
under
found
their
out
noses.
about his name.
Somewhere.
Well, who
along the
knows
line.
what Force Ghost conversations he's had in the interim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the biggest, I will say, the one that people have made the complaint about and still makes me scratch my head is Yoda's ability to manipulate the physical world. Now, that could be explained as well as in the way, the other Force Ghosts have been able to interact with the physical world. Obi-Wan sat down in Return of the Jedi.
True.
He
And
sat
it's
on a
also
log.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
you
on
actually had
Dagobah.
a battle with a Force Ghost in Knights of the Old Republic.
We had a battle with the Force Ghosts in Clone Wars.
Clone
Yoda
Wars.
Yoda took on Bane.
Bane.
So yeah, it's not impossible.
And he did. He manipulated the physical world.
The ghost of the Grand Inquisitor took on
Kanan.
not just Kanan, but then took on the
The other
two sisters.
Inquisitors.
Yeah, when he
yeah,
that's
redeemed
right. Brother.
himself. When he came back to the light.
So yeah, I mean, it's not an unheard of thing. And now I bet you a lot of the people that are complaining don't follow the cartoons because they're cartoons. I'm curious to find out if they do because, again, Yoda was able to manipulate or do the whole doppelganger thing and talk to Ezra. He was
And give him the
sitting
kyber
there.
crystal.
So it was like, yeah, I mean, he was able to do that. Then there was how come the dice were able to stay? Because Luke didn't die. Unlike Obi-Wan, who was sliced in half, unlike Yoda, who physically died from old age, Luke Skywalker just faded out. He left.
I got the impression he had a heart attack and keeled over.
No, he didn't kill over. He
himself back
closed
up.
his eyes, smiled, and faded
Gave
into
himself
the
to the
Force.
Force.
He did not die.
Well,
there's
his
no
physical
death.
form is gone.
He
Yes.
has ascended. He has now
has.
entered the realm of Stargate SG-1.
Yes, so I mean, it was
He
like
has
there
been
was no
assimilated.
death involved.
He's been assimilated.
Yes. So
The
I mean,
Force assimilated him.
So he was still with the Force. So therefore, what he was doing, the dice still existed. And then he just let go, and the dice disappeared. That's how Kylo Ren could pick him up.
Well,
I mean,
to
Making a
me,
point.
the dice were there until he joined the Force. So to me, that was showing what was happening back on the planet at the same time. But that was my perspective.
Either way,
Well, speaking of Star Wars, what next series? What would you
There-
like to see in the next series?
I would love to see between Jedi and Force Awakens.
I would love to see, again, like you said, between Jedi and Force Awakens, I'd love to see the rise of Snoke. I would love for the cartoons to give that kind, all the backstory that we're all begging for.
I don't care. I really don't. Snoke is
Okay.
Yeah, but I
personally,
would
just
like
speaking
to
personally.
see. I mean, because we had the Clone Wars, which involved all classic characters. I mean, Obi-Wan, Anakin, Yoda, all of them were there. We got Rebels, and while they gave us classic characters here and there, we didn't see the classic characters again. I would love to see Leia, Han, Luke,
They haven't met
and
Han
that
yet.
kind of stuff. But then it gives them the freedom of bringing other characters in, Wedge and
Well, they already have
Akbar and all
Wedge.
those. But they could intertwine it and then bring other new characters into it.
Now,
We could get Holdo, and we can find more about Holdo without having to read the books.
Now, you guys know more about Star Wars than I do, obviously, as I've tortured Tank over the past couple of weeks.
It wasn't really torture. But still, man, go to Wikipedia.
Okay, I just have one question. I've heard rumors online, and I just you guys would know better than I am. The old bearded guy in the Battle of Endor, is that Captain Rex?
Yes,
Not a
It has
rumor.
been retconned that it is, yes.
it is
It's
Rex.
official.
Okay, it's official. It's canon.
Yes, Rex survives as far as the Return of the Jedi. Yes.
Yes, as a matter of fact, we're
speaking
supposed
of
to see.
Rex, we get the rest of the clones back.
Yeah,
Yes,
we're
we do.
supposed to actually see him in that outfit during the last part of this season.
Yes.
Huh.
So it was retconned, even though that character was given a name, quote unquote. It has been retconned that it is Rex.
Damn.
Yeah. Of course,
He's
we also have. Well, one, he survived a very long time for a clone, because they were artificially aged.
Yes.
But we gotta keep in mind, Star Wars is a franchise that has an action figure for a named character that their only claim to fame was like being in like 30, not even 30 seconds, like 5 seconds of a film running down a hallway carrying an ice cream maker.
Hey,
They made him?
He's a proud rebel agent. You leave him be.
They made that character?
Yes, he has an action figure, and it includes the ice cream maker.
That is awesome.
Hey,
I didn't realize they made
that's
that
a
figure.
computer core. He's protecting rebel data.
Computer Core, yeah. By Briars.
Wilbur Wood. That's the character's name.
Cannot believe they did that. Oh, while we're on the subject of the toys, if you have not watched the series Toys That Made Us on Netflix, you are doing yourself a disservice.
Does it have Legos?
They're only up to episode 4, but the first episode is Star Wars figures, I think the second episode is Barbie, third episode is Masters of the Universe, and the fourth episode is G.I. Joe. I think it goes in that order. But it goes into everything that happened to those toy lines over the past 50 years.
There you go, Adam.
That is awesome. That is beyond awesome. Now, I have to find it, because, I mean, I've got my Hera Syndulla black figure, I got my Princess Leia, my Darth Vader, my 2 Stormtroopers. I need to find a Tarkin figure. Must find a Tarkin. Because I was very upset. I mean, as a kid, it was one of those, why do we not have a Tarkin figure? He was a pretty big deal in the film. We never got a Tarkin figure. It took what, 25 years to get a Tarkin figure, the first one.
You have to love the fact that there are 2 characters in Star Wars that reference George Lucas.
Yeah, isn't there a Twi'lek or something?
No, he's a Pontaran
An
senator.
alien.
Yeah, he's on screen in episode 3 for a couple of seconds.
And there are like 2 episodes of Clone Wars dedicated to the character.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Wow, it really is like it's really weird when you think about the things that just last. It's like Star Wars, Star Trek, 2 of the big, and we've got new Star Trek, we've got more new Star Wars, and it's just like the amount of time that this stuff has lasted.
And yet, most people younger than you, Adam, have no idea who Buck Rogers is.
That is so sad. Is it still on Netflix?
I have no idea.
I tried watching them because, yeah, younger than me. I remember 78, 79 watching, because we didn't have Star Wars. We had Battlestar Galactica and Buck Rogers on television. I remember watching those. And as a kid, I was 5 and 6 years old, and it was like, that was like the greatest thing ever. And you go back and watch it, it's like watching the original Battlestar Galactica now is very difficult. It's not as bad as like trying to watch Masters of the Universe or something like that, or Thundercats, but it's hard. And Buck Rogers, it is so 70s, it hurts. Hey, Buck. I'm surprised no one's tried to bring Buck Rogers back. We've had Tarzan, we've had the Lone Ranger. I think it's time. Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers made their return.
I think there's been some talk of doing that.
We have Star Wars because Lucas couldn't get the rights to Flash Gordon. We have to thank that. We have to. That's thank the owners of the Flash Gordon IP for saying no, because without it, we would not have Star Wars. Because he would have made a Flash Gordon movie.
Well, that right there might be why we haven't seen Buck Rogers in a while.
Who owns Buck Rogers? Oh, maybe. Are they with Bryan Singer's Battlestar Galactica? Has anything happened with that?
I have a feeling we might not see much of Bryan Singer for a while.
Yeah. Too many fingers being pointed his way.
Multiple times in the past, and he's trying to avoid it now while the spotlight is shining.
Speaking of toys and movies and things like that, I'm guessing, I don't remember exactly what, but Masters of the Universe is in pre-production.
Yeah.
That is so awesome. Even though already from the get-go, they put it, I guess the director put on Instagram and then took it down, a shot of Tila, and people started losing their minds because everybody was really hoping they'd go the sword and sorcery route, and we got a Jaeger-looking battle armor kind of thing, and it was like, what? I want a Conan movie, something that where it is the sword and sorcery side of He-Man with a little bit of science thrown in.
Well, you know Goyer's writing and directing, right?
I didn't realize he was directing. Why does he take everything and make it wrong?
Well, let's see. He replaced Mick G, so.
Well, that's probably a good thing. Yeah. See, if your ego is that big that you can't even go by your real name, especially when your only claim to fame are music videos and 2 really bad Charlie's Angels films, you lost the right to go by one name. Yeah, you're no Prince. Or Madonna.
You know, for the Masters of the Universe, I wouldn't
Or
mind
Cher.
if they went with the remake version. I liked that version of Tila even better than the original.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that was a really good show.
It's a shame they stopped.
That's explained. There's talk about that in the Toys That Made Us, because they go all the way through the history of the Masters of the Universe, how it started, why it started, and everything, and who came up with the ideas and all that kind of stuff. And it was really interesting to watch. It's a really good documentary series. Yes, I would definitely recommend that. That is high on the list of things to recommend. That and Stranger Things. Woof, is Stranger Things a good show?
Wow, I didn't realize how much David Goyer looks like Stanley Tucci.
Isn't? Oh no, it's Goldman that's on Discovery. Akiva Goldman.
Yeah, Goldman's involved with Discovery. I think Goyer might have be a little bit, but I can't remember.
You know, I counted how many producers were on the last episode. It's like 20. That is way too many people with an EP or a producer credit.
Speaking of, looking at an article here that I've been wanting to mention, but I didn't want to derail us because we're in the middle of Star Wars at the time.
Oh, we're done. We've got 5 more minutes. So
from Jordan Nardino. He's a writer and director, I think.
Okay, it's Kurtzman that's involved with Discovery. That's right.
And he's basically explaining Emperor Giorgio's titles and names, as well as her relation to Hoshi. Basically, so obviously, Mother of the Fatherland is an altered version of Father of the Fatherland. Overlord of Vulcan is because Terrans like to fancy themselves as the protectors of Vulcan. Dominus of Kronos because the Terrans just straight up conquered the Klingons. Regina of Andor because the Terrans subjugated the Andorians very early in their space age and created the title to celebrate it. Augustus because they see themselves as the inheritors of the Roman Empire. Centaurus because Centauri was probably the first system that the Terrans conquered. And then there's Laponius. Laponius is the Latin word for Japanese. And he basically says, Laponius is Latin for Japanese. In My Fever Dream, it's a title that Hoshi Sato adopted when she named herself because she was empress. And then 100 years later, Giorgio is emperor. They're not related, but more than likely what it is whoever Hoshi, her heir, continued to use Laponius as their title that, Hoshi had adopted as in honor of her homeland. So there you go.
Interesting.
Indeed.
Well, I think before we wrap it up for the evening, I think we really need to have a deep, heartfelt discussion about politics.
The politics.
Dance.
Thank you.
Damn it, why'd you guys have to ruin it for me?
Because I knew where you were going.
Still, come on, Yoda dancing. This is clearly a plot by centrists. So yeah, I brought a little bit from the new stuff into this. The new Star Wars stuff. So it's centrists and populists, I think?
I don't recall.
I just finished Leia, so No, Leia, and then before that was the Bloodline.
Bloodlines was a good book.
And those two actually tied in together, Leia and Bloodlines.
It's not the same author, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, she is really. I complimented her on Twitter, and she thanked me. I was like, you can hear the music in your books. That's how good your books are written.
Yeah, I would rate her as being up there with Zahn.
Oh yeah. The story she is able to weave, unlike Wendig or whatever his name is from the Aftermath series. She writes in a tight, concise way that is very conducive to a Star Wars story. Yeah, Chuck Wendig, I think his name is. Which I'm not gonna say they were bad books. I just didn't like them as much as I like. I can't think of the author's name because I can't see the book in front of me. It's buried.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Wendig's works.
I finished watching all of the most recent season of RWBY. It is getting even better, which is a strange thing to say because it was already a really good show. But Rooster Teeth at the end of it announced 2 new shows, one of which is looking to be really interesting called Gene Lock, which is this sort of science fiction mecha 3D animated thing they're coming out with later this year. So we should be on the lookout for that.
Cool. I'm going to call last call since we're at 2 hours and 54 seconds.
Let's see. Last call thing for me will be, did see Darkest Hour. That was actually really good.
It's on my list of things to see.
Yeah, we got lucky. As a matter of fact, it was just me and my buddy in the theater. That's it.
Now, I will ask,
we had the theater ourselves.
Did you see Dunkirk?
I did.
Do they tie in nicely even though they have nothing to do with each other?
No.
They don't tie together?
No, not really.
Okay, because I've heard other people say that it's like a sister movie to it.
I mean, kind of, but you're stretching it, honestly.
Okay.
The styles are completely different. The focuses are completely different. And my personal opinion, Darkest Hour is the far better film.
Wow, because I really like Dunkirk.
Dunkirk was okay. But honestly, I've watched that once, and I have absolutely no interest whatsoever to see it again. Because, I mean, there's, as I mentioned the previous time we talked about it, I knew what he was getting at. I saw what he was doing. But it's like, this is supposed to be the miracle of Dunkirk. The people coming to save their army. And we got none of that.
True. Okay, anybody else? Last call.
There's this game by Unknown Worlds called Subnautica that I've been playing since early access, and it just finally came out into its actual official launch. It's very fun if you like not really so much survival horror, but just survival with a very heavy emphasis on player versus environment, where the entire atmosphere gets you into the mood. I highly, highly recommend it. It is one of the few games I've played which I have been genuinely terrified. Wow. Simply because of the environment. Their use of lighting, how it gets really dark at night when you're underwater. Their use of sound, I don't just mean music, but I mean when you're swimming or riding along and you're either with a sea glide or a sea moth, and then you hear a sound and you have to pause and go, did I just hear a reef back and it's not going to bother me? Or is this a case of the sea leviathan can hear me? I mean, I can hear the sea leviathan, so it can see me.
Wow.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I only played it in early access. I didn't actually finish the game because it wasn't finished up until recently. But I'm going to be playing it soon.
Okay, do you have the finished version?
Yeah, because I bought the early access version.
Okay, now early access. Now visually, I saw some of the stuff. I haven't actually. I mean, that's all I did was see some early stuff from it. Visually, it looked insane. Is it as good as what it was? Is it better?
Yeah, it's well. I came in pretty late in the early access.
Okay.
Where a lot of the stuff had already been done. It's I mean, it isn't a hyper-realistically designed game. It's got a sort of cartoony aesthetic to it, to the character you play and some of the non-hostile creatures. But aesthetically, it is just amazing. Yes.
Cool. Wolfie, you got any last call stuff?
I got nothing tonight.
Okay. I'm going to end with my last call, going back to The Last Jedi, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to end the show so we can't discuss it. And I'm going to kick you guys off by doing it, because I'm going to say.
Is it what I perpetuated to you about what it actually is?
No, because that actually makes sense. But my biggest issue with the two issues with film is that whole chase from the Rebel base onward. It still kind of seems like an odd way to tell the story. But my biggest issue with the film is how dumb Poe Dameron is throughout that entire movie. That it took him, 2.5 minutes of looking and then verbalizing how he was pondering what Luke was doing. That it took him that long. And the same thing with Holdo turning the ship, that it took him that long to figure out what she was doing. It was like, dude, you are so stupid.
I know you don't want us to discuss it, but can I actually make a joke about it?
Go ahead.
Well, since he was supposed to die in the first film, he's just brain dead.
He was supposed to die in the first film. But they figured they need a Han Solo character, so...
Well, at least it gave him a hint of development.
Yes, in the wrong direction.
I still like him as a character, but yeah.
Yeah, I like him in the wrong direction, but he
was
really,
pretty
that whole thing,
You like
he's
him
trying
in the
to
wrong
do
direction.
something. Well, he says he's trying to do something. What's he doing? What's he doing? And then it finally dawns on him. He's stalling. It's like, really? You just got that, Captain Obvious?
Nobody else caught it.
Oh, dear Lord.
Well,
Well, that's,
everybody else was out watching with him, like, huh.
well, because they were expecting this. They were expecting the AT-ATs to fall down. But
Hey, they were waiting for us to what we were waiting for.
yes, they were waiting for what we were waiting for. But that'll be my last call, and we can discuss more. We can discuss Star Wars till the cows come home. But I'm hoping next week we have more, because I'm hoping we're going to get some Avengers stuff. I know we're getting Avengers stuff tonight, or something was supposed to.
There's
happen.
an Infinity War Prelude comic that came out this week.
But there was something being aired on Canadian television that I'm hoping is going to make it to YouTube fairly soon, so we can see it there as well. There'll be Black Panther news, I'm sure. We haven't even touched on that right now. More Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff starting or on Friday. So we'll have stuff to discuss next week. We're glad to be back. I don't know if you guys are glad. I'm glad we're back.
Because you were going crazy.
Wait, we're back?
Well, no, I was going crazy because I was hoping, and I apologize to everybody out there because I said big stuff was coming. And if you're listening to us, and I know people do watch our shows on the replays and stuff, I know I said big stuff was coming. It is coming. And I'm going to tell you guys right here, you're going to hear it right now. I am working on making the Geek EZ's website to be exactly what we do here. It is going to not be a news website. We will have news and we will have articles and stuff dealing with popular culture, but we will have an actual social media site where you can join, discuss, have discussions, make groups, and all that kind of stuff, and we can keep it in a safe area. I don't call it a safe space for geeks, but just an open forum where everyone should just feel like they can be who they want to be and have fun doing. So there's that. And there's other little stuff that I've got working and playing and stuff like that. But the big one will be the fact the Geek EZ will be just that. It will be a place for us to get together and throw ideas around as long as we can be civil about it. That being said, I'm going to say goodnight. You guys say goodnight. We're out of here.
Good night.
Goodbye.
Peace and long life.
And from Firefly, be excellent to one another.
Be excellent. Oh man, we need a Bill and Ted's 3, which is coming. It is coming. I'll discuss that later.
Whoa.
Whoa. All right.
Wow.
Okay, until next week, folks. See you then.
Thank you.